Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episode 1 of the new HBO limited series Task, starring Mark Ruffalo and Tom Pelphrey. So Task is a new 7-episode limited series brought to us by the folks who brought us the absolutely magnificent Mayor of Easttown, which I covered in full on this channel. I don't remember where I put it, but it did fall somewhere in my top 10 for whatever year that was released. So big fan of that show and was really looking forward to this one. And I gotta say, I thought this was an absolutely outstanding premiere. Like, I love the performances, the parallels that it drew between the two leads, and how it set the stage for a cat and mouse game that's going to be pretty fascinating to watch unfold. So before diving in, though, I got to say, HBO dropped, and I know they dropped it maybe like a week or two ago, but attached to this episode, they dropped a trailer for season 2 of The Pit, which premieres in January 2026. And that's wild because season 1 only came out like 8 months ago. And that means season 2 is probably going to be on the air before I even release my top 10 for 2025, which is going to feature season 1 of The Pit. So it's kind of rare that you see that level of urgency to strike while the iron is hot, but it's certainly hot with that show. So looking forward to season 2. I'll be covering. I don't know if I'm going to cover it here. It's not really the best show for covering week to week, but I'll definitely be watching it. So like I said at the end of the videos, join the Discord, join the conversation, because I'll definitely be watching and talking about season 2. So moving on from The Pit. This episode, this premiere of Task, wastes no time introducing us to our leads. Mark Ruffalo plays Tom Brandis. He's a former priest who is now working with the FBI. Right away, we see that he's a man of faith, starting his day praying by the bedside, like literally kneeling down beside the bed to pray. On the other side, Tom Pelphrey, he plays Robbie Prendergrass. I feel like there's a few too many R's in that name, but he's a single father, working for a trash company. And when we first meet him, we see he's got his hands full raising these kids after his wife Karen has walked out on him. That's why I said sort of a single father. We don't know what's going on with Karen at the moment. We just know that she's been gone for about a year. We don't even know if it's his wife technically, but it's the mother of his kids. But it's nowhere near like as simple as I just laid out for the two of them. Like, the show takes its time establishing these two men's personal lives and how they parallel with one another. Tom has a complicated relationship with his daughter Emily, and we eventually learn he has a son named Ethan who's about to be sentenced for murder. We don't know the details of what happened yet, but I loved a couple of things about this development. One, I love that the show subverted the expectation that Tom had lost his son Ethan to violence and that the murderer was about to be sentenced, instead choosing to go the far more interesting route of showcasing what happens to the family when someone is found guilty of a terrible crime like that. Like, that revelation reframes everything we thought about Tom. He didn't lose a son to violence. He's about to lose him to prison. And the guilt that he carries is heavy, but I don't even think it's purely like that guilt over, having raised a son who did whatever it is that Ethan did. Well, we know what he did, but we don't know the circumstances surrounding it. I think there's some guilt there too about the resentment that he seems to hold toward his son for what he did. Like, that was a strange way of scratching my nose, but it simultaneously itched on both sides. That was really weird. He refuses to give an impact statement that could lessen Ethan's sentence, and when he has the opportunity to visit with him, he turns it down, only dropping off the suit that he was meaning to drop off for sentencing. And it's sad, and it's a dynamic that is rarely depicted on television or in film, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do with it. I've often wondered how families are impacted when someone within it commits or routinely commits a horrific crime, like right under their nose. And they're like, oh, we thought so-and-so was normal, and now it turns out he'd have killed 30 motherfuckers. Like, I really wonder what that does to a person and what that does to that person's what that does to the person's family and how it impacts an individual within that family. So I don't know. I find that interesting. How do you deal with that going forward? So I'm really excited to see how the show tackles this topic. Robbie, meanwhile, has a partner in crime, both literally and figuratively, a guy named Cliff. They work together for a trash company by day, and they work together robbing trap houses by night. And the two of them are really close. There's a great scene that's meant to showcase just how close they are when Robbie shares his concerns about moving on after Karen left him. He's like, I'm thinking about doing some online dating. Robbie's got a real complicated family setup, so let's just go over it here because it kind of unfolds over the course of the episode. So he's got a dead brother named Billy, and Billy's daughter, Maeve, is living with him and his kids. But really, it's the other way around because it's Maeve's house and not Robbie's that she got when her father, Billy, Robbie's brother, when he died. And she allowed Robbie and his family to move in after Robbie's father died. Now, Robbie's wife, Karen, I told you she was complex. She's run off, and Robbie is now the irresponsible father who leaves his niece to raise his kids while he robs trap houses at night. And this leads to some pretty tense dynamics, to say the least. The scene where Maeve and Robbie argue on the porch, I thought was incredible. When he insults her cooking, like something that would usually be like a weak jab is like a devastating left hook because of a scene earlier in the episode where his son did the same thing. And her response, like, fuck you for that, was perfect. It was perfect, and he earned that. But the relationship is layered, it's messy, and it feels real. And I think that's because of the performances of Pelphrey, the actress who plays Maeve. I'm sorry, I'll have that in the future. And Ruffalo. We quickly learn Robbie and Cliff aren't just hauling trash. Like I said, they're scoping out trap houses, staking them out for weeks at a time, robbing them, and then making it look easy with their third partner, a guy named Peaches. And the places that they're robbing, and I don't know if they even know this. We might only know this as the audience, but the places that they're robbing, they rob 9 houses. 7 of them are run by the same motorcycle gang, the Dark Hearts. And at first, the first job we see them do, it runs pretty smoothly, as it should. Like I said, they've done 9 of them. They go in, they get the money, no casualties, not even a shot fired, real smooth. But later in the episode, things go about as badly as that one went smoothly. So on house number 10, which was supposed to be their dream job, a feisty woman in the house snatches Peach's mask off and he loses his gun. The other person that they apprehended in the house, a man, he claims to recognize Robbie's voice. When a member of the Dark Hearts gang unexpectedly arrives at the house, that guy ends up killing Peaches. And then Robbie and Cliff end up killing that guy, the one who arrived from the motorcycle gang, and the original man and woman that they had apprehended. And then they take their masks off like, man, this is fucked up what we just had to deal with. And then a fucking kid emerges from the basement, now having seen both of their faces. And Robbie and Cliff make, I don't know what's the good decision to make in that moment. Well, no, I do. It's turning yourself in and handing that kid to the cops. But if you want to continue to be a criminal, I don't know what the best outcome is, but I feel like taking him back to your personal home is probably not the best one. It's probably the one, like, killing him's the only worst one, and then like you're still gonna have the argument of, well, he did see his face, like, but taking him back to his house with his own family, man, that's who Robbie is. He makes bad decisions. And the bad decisions that come from good places, like he probably immediately the thought is like, we got to kill this kid. But he's like, no, I can't kill a kid. I'm not that bad. And so then he makes the second worst choice. So now what started as some successful but shady robberies is now a full-blown murder investigation for 4 murders along with a missing child. On the other side, to kind of like bring the two characters together, Tom gets pulled back in the field to head a new task force that is meant to take down Robbie's crew. At the time the task force is created, it's like a soft little weak job to kind of, help Tom get his feet wet, get back in the field so he can, get used to working again after whatever it is that Ethan did. Well, again, we know what Ethan did, but we don't know the circumstances. Anyway, it's supposed to be like a little soft job. Like, hey, we got this crew that's robbing these drug houses, and now one of the gangs is retaliating. That's the Dark Hearts. Go find this crew so we can stop it, nip any violence in the bud before it gets too crazy. And he's not thrilled about having to do it. His team is inexperienced. One of them is named Lizzie. She's constantly screaming at what I'm assuming is her ex over the phone, which is funny. These are funny scenes in what's a very heavy show. And then another one is Kristen Cole from House of the Dragon. So he's a piece of shit. Not to mention, Tom's personal life is in shambles, and he's clearly drowning his sorrows in Tito's, which not the worst choice. In drinks is the worst. It's not a great decision. Not a great decision to make, drowning your sorrows in alcohol. But if you're gonna choose something, Tito's ain't bad. If you're gonna choose vodka, Tito's ain't bad. Choose bourbon. But he's struggling with his daughter Emily too, as they try to navigate life after Ethan's crimes together. Emily has also been asked to write an impact statement that could shorten the length of Ethan's sentencing, and as of right now, she seems to still be on the fence about that. But now, what felt like busy work in a shithole of a headquarters in the middle of the woods to kind of help Tom get his feet wet, again, is now a huge fucking deal. 4 murders and a missing kid. So, what I loved about this premiere is the way it builds parallels between Tom and Robbie. Like, both are fathers haunted by family trauma. Both are trying and failing to handle the emotional weight of their circumstances. And while one wears like the good guy badge of being in the FBI, the other one was the bad guy badge because he's a criminal, and he is a bad guy. The show makes it clear their lives are more complicated than just that black and white difference. And there's a lot more similar between them than they probably like to think. Ruffalo and Pelphrey are both fantastic here. Ruffalo sells the quiet anguish of a man who can't reconcile his job and his role of a father with the crimes of his son, not to mention that he was a man of faith who is now no longer practicing. So he's undoubtedly like tortured with those thoughts of like, how could a man of God have a son that does what Ethan did? How could God punish me, a man of God who has been so faithful to him, by having my son do this? So that's probably what led him to leave his faith, all that kind of shit. So much heavy stuff. And I think Ruffalo's doing an excellent job of showcasing that weight. And then Pelphrey, just as he did in Ozark, he's once again nailing that role of kind of like a lovable screw up, like a guy whose flaws are huge, but whose pain you can't help but empathize with. And even worse, he's out here, doing bad stuff on purpose. Whereas like, his character on Ozark was a little bit more easier to empathize with. But man, this was just an excellent premiere, man. Like, I've been talking about Top Boy. It's a UK show that's been compared to The Wire. And I talked about with series 1, how great of a job it did with really building emotional stakes and a connection with the characters in only 4 episodes. And I haven't released my video for series 2 yet, but series 2 did the absolute fucking opposite. And it did not do a good job of managing those 4 episodes. And it's the difference between, what can make a British series great when they can do everything perfectly in the just the right amount of time that they need it, versus not having enough time to really do what they wanted to do. This one, with only 7 episodes, this premiere just knocked it out of the park. Heavy, nuanced, gripping. Like, I'm locked in for the full ride. I'm excited for like just everything that they gave us in this premiere was so compelling. I'm really excited to see what they have planned for an additional 6 episodes. But that's all I've got for this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Like the channel, subscribe, share to your social media. Like I said earlier, join the Discord, join the conversation. And until next week at episode 2, peace.